You are listening to Stones Radio Networks, the home of the Lincoln Potters. Stay tuned for more of the POS Show on Stones Radio Networks. You are listening to Stones Radio Networks, the home of the Lincoln Potters. Stay tuned for Dodger Dogs. They suck. You are listening to Stones Radio Networks, the home of the Lincoln Potters. Stay tuned for more of the POS Show on Stones Radio Networks. listening to Stones Radio Networks, the home of the Lincoln Potters. Coming up on Stones Radio Networks, the POS Show, Phantom on Sports. Coming up on Stones Radio Networks, the POS Show, Phantom on Sports. You are listening to Stones Radio Networks, the home of the Lincoln Potters. You are listening to Stones Radio Networks, the home of the Lincoln Potters.
Every night I go to party. Inside my mind, there is a sun.
You are listening to Stones Radio Networks, the home of the Lincoln Potters.
Broadcasting live from the Stones Studio and Dog Kennel. It's time for another edition of the POS Show. That's right, you found the POS Show, Phantom on Sports. I'm Stones McCoy, executive producer and button pusher. And now, for the man who's been around since, well, before anything was ever invented, the legendary Phantom.
And that's me, and this is the POS Show, Phantom on Sports, Phantom on Stuff. My partner over there is Stones McCoy, wearing the old San Francisco Giants sweatshirt.
That's right.
One of the few teams that will not be relegated in Major League Baseball. We may talk about that a little bit later in the show. Also, later in the show, Mr. Basketball makes an appearance.
Mr. Basketball.
It is time to ask Mr. Basketball. And I saw on Twitter that you put out a call for some questions, and actually you got a few.
I got a few.
Which is nice.
I mean, they are direct. You know, they are very centric in nature. They are Sacramento Kings related.
And that's fine.
And that's fine, I know.
fine.
But I'm going to go a little bit beyond the pale as well. I think I've got a couple of questions at least for you to help out Mr. Basketball.
Okay, we'll also talk a little bit about baseball and football because I think we haven't talked about the quarterback carousel that much on the POS show. We talked about it with Zach on the Generation Gap. We haven't really talked about it on the POS show, so we'll do that. But first, I want to do a little recap because since I saw you last,
I already did a recap. I did it on Sunday. It was the Stones Radio Network Best of the Week recap.
Okay, I saw that you put something out that you guys were listening to. Best of the. I couldn't find it.
Best of the week.
And I wanted to know what made the best of the week.
Well, the best of the week featured all of the shows that happened on Stones Radio Network last week. We started, as the week starts, on a Sunday with the Stones and Toy Show.
Sure.
So there was a little brief period in there in which the boys talked about cocaine hippos.
Okay, obviously, which is kind of it's the Stones and Toy Show, cocaine hippos.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, that's basically what it is.
We're actually going to come up with T-shirts and hats, I think. It's going to be a whole line of stuff.
I just think maybe we talk to Matt over at the Potters and say, hey, for one game maybe?
I don't think that'll fly.
The Lincoln Cocaine Hippos?
The Lincoln Sea Hippos maybe, but not the Cocaine
Lincoln
Hippos.
Chippos, bro.
There we go.
All right, very good.
So, and then the next show that follows is this show, the POS Show.
Okay. But last week it would have been unscripted, though, right?
Well, last week it would have been, but they did not do a Sunday show.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
And they also failed to do a Sunday show this weekend.
Oh, those three.
Which we talked about on the Stones and Toy Show last night.
Good. Give them some love. I like that.
We do. We love them deeply. So, and then following that would have been Generation Gap, I believe.
Well, actually, it would have been the POS show on Monday.
Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. The POS show. And what did we talk about on the POS show that made the highlights?
That's what I'm eager to find out.
Oh boy, I don't even remember.
It was good.
I don't remember.
Excellent.
Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah,
it was really good. And then, I apologize for that. And then it was unscripted.
Okay.
The unscripted boys were last. What am I talking about?
The Generation
Gap. Because it was Generation Gap. And it was all about your half-vax.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Which we're going to talk about right now.
So your half-vax got a lot of love.
Okay.
And then unscripted, they were talking karaoke and they were talking crap about us.
So about us?
But no, Stones.
About you,
Stones
not
and Toy. Stones and Toy.
So you guys have like kind of a feud going.
Well, I figured.
There's only 3 shows on the network, and 2 of them are feuding.
I figured the best thing to do is to start a little something.
That's a great
right?
idea.
To get things going. So that's all I'm doing.
That's a great idea. Okay, well, let's go back to the vax then, because I hadn't talked about that with you since last Thursday.
No, you are half vaxxed.
When I got the vaccination, and I had some questions I wanted to throw out after thinking about it, and I almost said, let's call in the Stones Radio Network's medical expert, Chris Toy. But then I sampled your show, would it have been last night?
That would have been last night.
You were talking about bidets and measuring assholes. And I said, maybe the medical community will not respect us if we utilize Mr. Toy at this time.
Well, what's great, though, about Mr. Toy? Hold on.
I chose not to.
I know, but let me tell you what's great about Mr. Toy there is that I was coming with the measuring of the assholes. He was coming with the scientific part.
That's why we have him.
Okay, so I mean, I think we would still have a little cred.
At some point, we can bring him in here and talk about this, but I'm just going to broach it to you now because I got my vaccination, my number 1, half vaxxed.
You're half vaxxed.
And and then I was reading a story on Twitter, which, as you know, is my only news source, about people who have been vaccinated who've got the coronavirus, and it led me to thinking, now, the vaccine, let's just use a number that is thrown out, is 95% effective. Okay? Which, obviously, when you think about it, means, well, if you're exposed 20 times, one of the times you're going to get it.
More than likely, because that would be 95%.
Or if there's 100 people that are exposed, 5 of them are going to get it, right? Which is better than 92 of them, right?
Correct, absolutely.
Okay. But what I'm thinking, and what I was going to ask Chris, and what I will ask you is, I'm hoping that right now, even before this, there are people formulating plans for how to deal with these people who are positive after vaccine.
Correct.
In other words, one of the things that is horrible about this whole thing, and when we get on the other side of it and look back and start to hold people accountable, there are going to be a lot of people or agencies who drop the ball.
We're going to find that.
You didn't plan for this. You had the wherewithal to plan for this, and you didn't.
Yeah, no, we're going to find that.
Right. Okay, so in this situation, I'm hoping there are people right now going, okay, we're going to have people that are positive after they get vaccinated.
Yes.
Okay, there's still going to be positive people. How do we deal with that? Do we test people that are positive after they're vaccinated? Do we take their blood and check it out? Do we have what kind of situations are we going to have different?
What measures do we have in place to make sure and check on those people because
Exactly.
they are a new group of people?
You've been vaccinated and
Yes.
you still got the coronavirus.
Yes.
So let's try to figure out why.
Because you're now in a new group of people.
Exactly.
Yes.
Thank you. And obviously, the fact that we will vaccinate a majority of people will, that pool will be dwindling of people who will get it in the first place or get it after they're vaccinated. That'll be a dwindling pool. And at some point, hopefully, it'll be overwhelmed.
Yeah.
But I'm just hoping that right now there are people drawing up those plans to go, okay, this is definitely going to happen.
Yeah.
Because way back in the day, people were saying this is going to happen, and we didn't have any contingency plans for that happening. And now I want us to be aware that I don't want to, because people put that out on Twitter because they want to freak other people out.
Well, of course.
I want us to be able
That's
to
how
go,
you get followers.
I want
dude.
us to be able to go, okay, I knew that was going to happen,
Yeah.
and I have a plan for it, and here is how we are treating those people because they're not the same as people who got it, 11 months ago.
Correct.
So I'm just hoping that there are people, like I was telling you, my wife is working from home. She works for the county.
Yeah.
They have meetings all day about stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just
You want to hope that there's a
I'm
meeting
hoping
set up
the
for
agency
the
that's
exact
going to
same
take care of
thing.
this is having meetings all day going, this is going to happen and this is going to happen.
Yeah.
And when this happens, what do we do here? And I'm just hoping, and I used to naively believe that was happening, when back in the days I thought there were smarter people up top doing
Yeah.
things. Now I realize they're not. But I used to
You'll be
believe
lucky
there were.
that
I used to believe there were people
Yeah.
who go, well, they're smarter than we are. If I can figure that out, then
Then
they
they should-
obviously have figured it out before, and they put plans in place.
They're already working
and
on it.
It wasn't true.
Well, again,
So that's what I worry about now.
I am not a scientist, nor will I claim to be, but I will tell you that I am a consumer of information. And
Yes.
in regards to coronavirus and all of what's going on, I am a big consumer of all of these little things, including what you're referring
Okay.
to. And I like to learn about what these studies are, so how these vaccines were able to go through a trial, what the trial was, what they were doing with the information. And part of all of these trials is exactly that 5%. So they've came up with a 95% efficacy.
Right.
They are also studying the 5% to figure out why. They were doing that during the trials. They're still doing that. And so
excuse me, but they're studying the 95. They're studying the vaccine itself and going, why is it only applicable to 95%?
Correct.
Right. Okay.
And they're always looking at the people who have been vaccinated but have gotten the virus because they did that through the trial.
Right.
So that information is constantly being worked on. The thing about it is that it's not high. The number is not high enough to draw much media attention.
So you have a small sample size.
Correct.
It's hard to extrapolate a larger
and
thing.
people aren't
from
talking
just-
about it
yeah.
because it's a very small
Right.
group of people.
But
so
it just seems like people are trying to scare people, and the more that we realize that this is going to happen, the calmer we are about it, and
Yes.
not just knee-jerk reactions. And
Absolutely.
Go, okay, this happens, and hopefully
it's a wonderful website, and I hate to say this, but it's a wonderful website. If you have a question and you're just not certain, the CDC website is
that's
a great website.
not bad at all.
You know what I mean?
And hopefully, now you
I'm
probably
sorry I said that, but it's true.
run across this in your study of studies, but hopefully people that do get it after being vaccinated, the effects will be somewhat lessened because they have the vaccine.
So what you were referring to about being half vaxxed. So your vaccine, either your Pfizer or your Moderna, your first shot was the weaker of the two shots.
Right.
Okay. So one of the reasons why people are still susceptible to getting the coronavirus after that first shot is because you didn't get the overwhelming antivirus.
So you got
okay?
30
You've
of
got a base.
100, not 70 of 100.
Correct. You got a base, and that base is really designed to get your body to start producing what it needs to fight off the virus
Very
as
good.
it enters
Starting
the
my
body.
engine, so to speak.
Exactly. So that's why I don't think it's getting talked about a lot, is because it is common, because you're not getting it's not a one-shot thing, so it's not flooding your body with that and keeping you away from it. So yeah, I understand your concern.
Well,
I get it.
My concern is just that,
I do think there's enough people that are sitting behind desks, talking about your 5%. If you fall into the 5%, they're talking about you. They're looking into what's going on with that group, and they are trying to figure out what in the hell is happening and what can we do to fix it.
Right.
And I think a lot of the reason why there's a 2-stage shot as well is because that's once your body does start to do that, once you do get your second shot 3 weeks later or 4 weeks later, it actually makes you sick for a couple of days.
Yeah, as you say, because it's a stronger of the two.
Because you've now introduced it into your body.
Right.
So I think they've got it right. I'm not a scientist, but I think they got it right.
I'm just hoping there's enough of them that have had the foresight to go, okay, now we know the fact that we said it's 95% effective.
We're not going to forget about those other 5%.
Well, not to say, well, that's good enough, and then eventually, numerically, we'll wipe it out that way. But no, let's take the 5%, be proactive, have a program in place, a protocol in place, and let's learn from that and go with that. Because there's obviously some of it is unknown, but some of it you can kind of extrapolate and figure out how to do it. So
these guys are too damn smart not to know that.
That's what I thought, but unfortunately, the scientists are too damn smart.
Yes,
the other people that are running things are not necessarily.
The people that are running things, you're right. And again, I tell you all the time, this is all about getting likes and follows and building up your social brand. Because in this world that we live in, your social brand is as big as your name.
Well, that is going to factor into the show later on in what we talk about. We are having Mr. Basketball in today, and we're going to play Ask Mr. Basketball. But I am going to also play, and sometimes I do this. I actually used to do this a lot with you. I just don't understand things in the world, and I usually rely on you to kind of be the guy to figure things out for me.
Okay.
And explain things to me. And I'm going to start you off with an easy one.
All right.
I love pizza. I cannot watch a pizza commercial. I would say 90. Let's use the 95%. 95% of the time I see a pizza commercial, I want pizza, no matter if it's 8 o'clock in the morning or whatever.
Okay.
And I will give you Chicago and New York have pizzas, right?
Oh, I know where you're going with this. And
let me say right now, they're not a sponsor, but I love Pizza Hut. But there ain't no such thing as Detroit pizza.
Well,
and you can't just invent pizzas and give them to a city. So I'll give you Chicago and New York pizza.
Okay.
And then Italian pizza.
And then pizza.
If you want to kind of sneak in a California pizza.
No.
Throw an avocado on it. I don't care. But that's really not. There's only two geographical pizzas.
Okay.
New York and Chicago.
Well,
there ain't no other kind of pizza.
Well,
it's just pizza. And you can't say, well.
What about Hawaiian?
If you put a pineapple on something, it don't make it Hawaiian.
But that's what it's called.
It's not. But it's not.
You don't call up.
Okay, hold on.
All right, hold on.
I understand what you're saying. You're right. It is called Hawaiian, like a pepperoni pizza is called pepperoni.
Yes.
But it's not a city. Chicago pizza.
But you're right. Pepperoni is not a city.
No, okay.
Correct.
So there's a style. The cities are a style. New York style, Chicago style.
Okay. And Hawaiian style.
Hawaiian. It's not Hawaiian. It's a Hawaiian pizza because there's a pineapple. There's a freaking pineapple on it. Okay.
Sorry, just trying to play devil's advocate there.
You're telling me that it doesn't really. They say, okay, we
I
make
agree
the
with
pizza.
You. I agree with
without.
you.
Can
we
put
just
it
talk
in a
about
pan
the Detroit
and
style?
Pour the sauce on
top,
and that's Detroit pizza.
Because that's how you keep the crust light and airy.
Oh, that is
okay. And you allow all the cheese,
it's lasagna
oil to bake into that bread, right? And then your sauce is on top. So people who don't like sauce, they can wipe it off.
Then don't get a freaking pizza.
Listen, there is no such thing as Detroit.
There's no Detroit pizza.
Unless
if you want to call that a pizza, Motor City Madman pizza, I don't know what you want to do. Fine, but it's not. There's no Detroit pizza. People go, when I go to Detroit, I want to go for the pizza. No, you don't.
What do you go to Detroit for?
You go for for Bob Seger's house.
Bob Seger's house. Okay.
And maybe the Pistons in the 80s.
I know, but 90s. What about food-wise? What about food?
There is no food for Detroit.
There's no food for Detroit.
I mean, maybe there is.
Well,
it has a very this is going to tie into what we were talking about next, but it has a very big Armenian population.
Okay.
And stuff, and there might be like specialties of Armenian culture, like food specialties, that I'm sure are fantastic.
So maybe this is an Armenian pizza because it's in Detroit. They call it Detroit style.
This is not. It's, as I mentioned before, it's not a pizza. It's in a tin. It's a lasagna. Okay.
First of all, it's not a lasagna because there's not a damn bit of ricotta cheese in that, and I am not touching it.
Put in your own ricotta
unless
cheese.
there's ricotta in
It's
there.
a Detroit. Okay, so can we agree?
Well, I've never heard of Detroit pizza
until the commercial.
Until this commercial, and then they poured the sauce on top, and I changed the channel.
And that's why you can't just invent like you're talking about the brand.
Yes,
you can't add something just to make it. You can't. Here, look out! Here's Cleveland pizza.
You know what's coming next?
Do that.
You know what's coming next? Inside Out pizza. Okay, Inside Out pizza's coming next.
Inside Out pizza.
Yes, it's gonna be a
crust
layer
on the outside.
No. The crust is gonna be on the inside. Inside Out pizza. There's gonna be a layer of cheese on two sides. There's going to be a layer of sauce on two sides, and there's going to be crust in the middle. Watch, it's coming. I guarantee you Papa Murphy's is going to come out with the Inside Out pizza.
How do you pick it up?
I don't know.
Someone's got to sketch that out for me because I love that.
It sounds like a pizza lasagna.
Pizza, okay, so sauce, cheese.
No, cheese, sauce, crust. Sauce, cheese.
Okay, and then you could put any topping in there.
In between the sauce and the cheese. You would put it in between the sauce.
Your pepperoni or your...
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes. Inside Out pizza.
Wow.
Inside Out, I'm telling you.
I will take Inside Out pizza over, what are you going to call it, Seattle? You can't call it.
Call it Roseville style. I call it Roseville style.
Roseville pizza. That's going to win on a nationwide basis.
Okay, well, go Cali pizza. No, first of all, Cali doesn't have a pizza.
There's California Pizza Kitchens is a restaurant, right?
Yes.
So you can say California pizza. I don't buy it.
No, you can't say California
There's only
pizza.
2 geographical pizzas.
Yes.
3 if you say Italian. Okay, that's fine. If you want to go to Italy and eat your pizza.
Well, no, it's pizza or New York style or Chicago style. It's pizza or New York style or Chicago style.
All right,
That's
and
it.
if someone says Detroit style,
I'm going to say,
then
know what?
you smack them in the face.
Yes.
Detroit.
Why are you baking me a half-baked lasagna without ricotta?
Be one of the bad boys and just elbow them into the stand.
I love it, dude.
That's right. Okay.
I'll give him an elbow.
Well, thank you for settling that for me.
You bet.
And Inside Out Pizza
really pissed me off.
Maybe the name of this whole episode, really. Inside Out Pizza. See, when you're doing the Coke during the show. Okay, next question.
I'm good.
And this has been something that's nibbled at the fringes of society and sports for a long time. But I think it's really reached the head in the last couple of weeks, or the last week I saw 3 different bouts being referred or referenced,
Okay.
Why does anybody care about celebrity boxing?
Ooh. I can't really answer that.
Jose Canseco was in a bout. He got his ass beat in, I think, 10 seconds or something. And he made, according to what I read, $1 million.
$1 million bucks.
And Jose Canseco's got to be 55.
He's 55, still living in Vegas, pumping the iron and the steroids. Because if you saw him, I mean, he's still in shape.
Right, but he's in a celebrity boxing match.
Yes.
Lamar Odom is scheduled to fight one of the Carters. I think Aaron Carter. I'm not sure which.
He's going to get knocked out like he was at the Bunny Ranch.
Right.
I mean, it's really bad.
I do agree with you there. I think he would you rather be hovering near death at the Bunny Ranch or boxing celebrity?
Bunny
I'm
Ranch.
going to go Bunny Ranch.
I'm going to go Bunny Ranch.
I think it's Aaron Carter. I think his brother was in the Backstreet Boys or one of those guys. But my point is, who gives Lamar Odom is 7 feet tall.
Uh-huh.
This guy is like 5'2".
Yeah.
And they're going to box.
Yes.
And people are going to care.
Well, Jake something or other from the...
Now, that's Logan Paul and Jake Paul.
Logan Paul.
One of them's they're brothers, I think, and they're YouTubers. One of them started to do celebrity boxing, and now he's a boxer.
Well, yeah, he knocked out Nate Robinson.
That's the one who knocked out Nate Robinson? Okay.
One of the
First
Pauls.
of all, why would you...
One of the Pauls did this to Nate Robinson, and I felt really bad because I watched it. I watched it live, and it was horrid.
Okay, but wasn't it pay-per-view?
Well, yeah.
Did you acquire it by a third party?
I just acquired it, okay? Just, stop trying to get the FBI
Jose Canseco, Lamar Odom, and Aaron Carter, and Nate Robinson, and Logan Paul, right?
Yeah.
Why would anyone watch these?
Well... Okay, first of all,
why are they a thing?
The YouTuber guy, Jake Paul. Thank you. It was Jake Paul. Yeah. So
I know there's 2.
Why would we watch them? Well, first of all, the YouTuber side that they have their own. We just talked about little groups, right? You know. in our last segment, they are their own separate group, the YouTuber group. Okay?
So he's got his network of people.
And he's got millions of followers. So he's going to bring that with it. And the fact that he has some skill, because he has some skill, just made it that much more interesting. Why Nate Robinson? I really couldn't tell you.
5'8" or something like
that. But this started to become a thing again after Mike Tyson and Roy Jones Jr.
Okay.
It started to become a bigger thing again.
That's like a hybrid boxing match, old people boxing match.
You're right.
Celebrity boxing match.
Old-timey.
At least they're both boxers, or were at one time.
You're right.
These people are like a baseball player, a football player, a singer, whatever that Paul guy is, a basketball player. I mean,
but that level of boxing, right?
Why is there an audience for this?
No, but that level of boxing, right? So if we're going to get old timers and bring them out,
right,
you've got to have an undercard, right?
Sure.
So
I guess,
the undercard,
yeah, because your main event's going to last like 2 minutes.
The undercard on all of these types of events are celebrity boxing matches. And that's again the Jake Paul was an undercard situation.
Great. So the crap real boxing has to have an undercard,
and it has
of
several
crap
of
boxers who are celebrities.
Correct. And it has several of them. And
really?
Yes. And this is how they are making like the whole Jake Paul thing. He's making his way into boxing now because he's shown some skill, and the kid's got some skill.
Right, but if he boxes a real boxer,
well, he's actually called out Floyd Money Mayweather, and
sure he did, because he gets you the most attention.
You just talked about the height differential.
Yeah.
Does it matter in that match?
No, but
does it matter in that match?
Floyd Mayweather fights aren't fun to watch when he's really fighting.
No, and so he's going to avoid everything Jake Paul does and hit him a shit ton of times. It's not going to be fun.
If he feels like it, yeah.
You know what I mean? So
I'd rather put him in there with John Jones.
But that's the reason why these things are gaining traction, is because they're undercards and they're money makers.
But they're
charge
real prices for these pay-per-views, right?
No, absolutely. The Tyson, do you remember the Tyson pay-per-view? I believe it was $80.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So Mike Tyson won that, didn't he?
No, it was a declared.
Oh, that's right. He was dominating, but it was a draw. So they'd agreed.
It wasn't even close, dude.
They'd agreed on the draw before the fight.
Absolutely.
Okay, all you got to do is last this many rounds, and it's going to be a draw. And here's your money.
Tyson looked the better of every fighter out
there. Why
is
there so much disposable income in America now? I thought everybody was poor.
Yeah, but there's all these internet sensations, okay, have money. And so they go onto their platforms and they fucking call people out. They just call people out. Right. I guarantee you this Canseco thing was one of the...
Who was he even fighting?
I don't recall, but it was... I guarantee you it was, I'm calling you out, and I've got a platform, and now all the people that are on my platform are like, yeah, call out Canseco.
And Canseco he gets a piece of the pay-per-view, because all he cares out is...
Damn right.
I just have to sell pay-per-views, and I get I think he got $1 million for that.
That's what I read.
That is absolutely crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'd do it. If I had a platform...
You would fight?
Absolutely.
Wow.
If I had a platform, a big enough platform, I would call somebody out because I have some skill.
Okay, we'll talk about that in a minute. But I was thinking about the best boxing match I ever been to.
Oh, yeah?
At Little Joe against Blind Neil. Remember that? God, that was great. That was so great. Little Joe got robbed.
Totally.
It was so funny.
Totally got robbed.
So funny.
I know. Well, we were going to Joe and I were going to do that at one point in time.
I think I remember that.
Yeah, and then it turned out to be like we were going to wrestle, and then we were going to do leg lock things, and I was like, dude, none of this is fun.
Yeah.
I'm not into this.
No, first of all, I don't think you could surpass what they did.
No, that's the thing, is they had already reached the pinnacle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Anything we did then, unless we could bring in some super famous person to do something else.
Exactly.
We got nothing going on because we already developed. And we had Tony Lopez was there giving it, and he, by the way, he called it wrong, but
yes, he
was there, and so...
You give it to Blind Neil anyway, regardless, okay? You give it to Blind Neil.
Blind Neil does not want that. He wants to be judged
I know
on his
he
own merit.
wants to, but you give it to him. The dude right now is pushing beat ball, and he's doing a beat ball podcast now. All right?
What is going on with him? Is that guy that's on
He is doing a beat ball podcast.
Is the guy that's on the internet all the time now under different names that always tweets about the Kings. Is that his cousin?
I think so,
the guy he used to do the show?
Yes.
Wasn't it Blind Neil and Murph or something like
Murph Dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I follow. I think it's still the same guy, man. He tweets all the time.
Yes,
sometimes
he does.
It makes me laugh.
Yeah. Well, sometimes they all make me laugh.
Sometimes it doesn't.
I love Blind Neil.
I don't want you boxing, by the way. Yeah. I
would so do
Blind
it,
Neil's doing great, I hope. I hope he's doing good.
No, he is. He is
And
doing
you have
good.
skills?
Yes, I do. Well, you got to remember, I was raised by a Gold Star Marine boxer.
Okay.
And his father was a professional fighter.
Put a pin in that.
So
I want to set a date right now.
Okay.
Maybe I'm looking next month.
Next month, March. I got it.
In March.
Yeah, my birthday.
Maybe celebrate my second shot.
All right.
I don't know. And we'll pick a night, maybe a Friday that we don't usually do a show here on Stones Radio Networks.
Okay.
6 o'clock.
All right.
And we're going to put you on the couch, or we're going to have Stones McCoy, This Is Your Life. Because we have got to go into that freaking family tree of yours, which has got so many branches and bushes, and there's probably monkeys hiding up in the trees. I don't know.
I got into this to do that, and it's never,
never
8
happened.
years or whatever,
No.
it's never happened.
It's never happened. Well, you told me about it one time, and I literally couldn't go on and do a show. I'm like, I got to go home now.
Well, I mean,
I can't do this.
I've got a buddy of mine who tells me what I really need to do is do it in segments and do a mafia segment, because I have a whole.
Yes, I know you do.
You know what I mean?
And we can do that. We can do it as a Netflix 10-part series.
I think we might need to.
We could do that.
Should
but
we charge?
No. Well, let's just do the first one and find out how we're doing.
See if it goes.
But
anywhere.
I really think that we have to do that.
Yeah.
Okay. So celebrity boxing.
I'm telling you,
again,
dude,
you've explained it perfectly. I still have no idea what the hell. Again, I understand about the whole, if you're a YouTuber, you have your followers, and they're going to do what,
Yeah.
And
they're going to help push what you want.
And that's insane, because that gives you then, as you always talk tonight, it seems like you talk about all the time, brand power, brand management, is that gives you the power to go to people and go, look, I can bring 1 million people to my pay-per-view or whatever. So, that gives you a lot of power.
Let me just wrap this whole thing up by giving you an example, okay?
Okay.
There was a gentleman on our Facebook or on our Twitter, okay, who was looking, he's a writer, and I don't recall his name, so I think Max is out there. He can help me out with all that. He was looking to do a story, a thesis story for MLB. He's trying to get a job, and he was looking to do a story very specific on Trevor Bauer.
Okay.
And so he put it out there, and it caught some traction because of a few people that he knows, like Max. It got on Max's timeline. It got on my timeline. It got on the Potters timeline. Everybody started retweeting it, and then a few hours later, the guy responds on there, goes, "Hey, Twitter, love you. I just got a DM from Trevor Bauer."
Wow.
Okay, that's how this works.
Okay.
Online, that's how it works.
You brought that to me, and that's a tremendous example. I will one-up you and say that was Logan Bell.
Logan Bell?
He's a right-hander on the Lincoln Potters.
Thank you very much for doing that.
From Bowling Green University.
Thank you very much for
so I did see that, and I did follow that, and I hope his first question to him is, how can you play, you mercenary? But other than that, I call him a Hessian, but you wouldn't understand the reference there.
You're a horrible guy.
Before I get to my cancel culture rant, I need to tell you about, I was watching this show today. You know Lonesome Dove? You've heard of Lonesome Dove?
I've heard of Lonesome Dove, yes.
I'm watching one of the Lonesome Dove spin-offs, right? And, me and Lola were just hanging out. And they had a little thing before it started. It says, PG or R or whatever it was, PG. Mm-hmm. And it said, partial nudity, drug use, whatever it was. But there was a one in there that I'd never seen before, and it was IC. And I went, what the hell is that? And I looked at it, and it was insensitive cultural depiction.
So perfect.
Because it's about Indians.
Yes. So Blazing Saddles would have that on it, wouldn't it?
Insensitive cultural depiction.
Wouldn't that be on that?
The episode it had it for, I don't think there was any depictions of Indians that were negative at all.
Just in case.
But they had to put it on there, and maybe it was depicting white guys. I don't know. But I'd never seen that before, and your first tendency is just drop the mic, throw your hands up, and it's time to basically just give up.
Yep.
Insensitive cultural depiction.
Uh-huh.
And I think, I don't know.
Listen, you can just stop showing movies that were made after 1980.
Just
okay?
don't show movies that were made before.
Or that's what I'm saying. Before. That's what I meant. Is before 1980.
I'm going to say 1990.
Maybe 90. Maybe 90. Because you throw the Eddie Murphy stuff in there. Yeah. Okay, so let's go to 90.
Let's go to anything with Indians in it.
So Turner Movies, that channel, that's gone. Okay.
Yeah.
All the classic stuff, that's gone. Any channel that has that stuff, it's gone.
Unless they update their little things.
Because they all have to have the IC.
Insensitive cultural depiction.
It should be ICD, shouldn't it?
It should be, but I'm sure that you only have 2 letters in there or something. I don't know. I was blown away. What?
It doesn't.
Because every movie, I mean, if you have a movie that's well,
you have to talk about people now. So you got to talk about an 18-year-old kid, right?
Right.
Who might be flipping the channels and is about to watch this movie, who has no clue as to what it is, right? They've got to have that on there because we are a much more PC society than we've ever been in the so we have to apply it to every aspect of our lives. And that's why it's applied to those movies and the music and to anything that you can interact with. It's where we've gone.
If you do a movie and there's a guy in there and the bad guy is a white guy who's a dick, is it still an
we haven't gotten to that. We haven't gotten to that part where that's part of the platform as far as that's insensitive.
Okay, obviously, if this helps at all, good.
Yes.
Okay, I mean my mind goes to the other side of it, but
I know it does.
If this helps something, and maybe it's for parents.
Well, that's,
you don't let your kids watch this because it's got insensitive cultural depiction on it. I don't know.
Without talking to them first.
It just seems like whenever we make a move to try to
whatever happened to common sense.
Well, it seems like whenever we make a move to try to deal with these things, it's like we move. There's a problem here, and we move to cover it, but it moves over here. We never do the right thing. I mean, I guess this is a positive step, but
what would be the right thing?
I don't know.
The thing.
The right thing is don't watch this movie if it offends you if they show Chinese people in a bad light or Indians or.
So the only way that they can
I don't know.
So the only way that they can get around doing that and still showing the movie because it's part of cinematic culture, right? The only way they can get around doing all that stuff is by putting the IC disclaimer on there, just so they can say, look, this is part of cinematic culture and it doesn't reflect the views of our channel.
Well, do you take every James Bond movie now? And the bad guy is always, it's a Russian or it's a, call it Asian or something. That's the person, right? Okay, so it's the bad guys are Russians, so we're depicting Russians as warmongers that are going to blow the world away. Do we have to put the depiction thing on there because it's insensitive?
I'm thinking of every Jet Li movie ever made. Does it have to have an IC on it because everybody in the movie is Asian and there's one or two other characters?
Right. Well, but does that balance it out? If you
that's what I'm saying.
If it's from the perspective
of
an African American person, if there's African American people in it that are bad guys, doesn't matter now because it's from the different perspective.
I think
we obviously don't know.
I also think there's a historical component that goes to it. Something tells me that whatever you're watching, has some kind of historical references to back how things used to be back in the 18.
You know what I mean? Indians in any movie.
So I think there is something a little bit more poignant and something you're able to actually put your finger on.
Maybe you're right. Maybe that one. Maybe
the
settlers Indians thing is something you can really. Okay, obviously we showed Indians as all they did is go out and get drunk and scout people.
Yeah,
and that's not really the way it was. So
correct.
That was insensitive.
No,
you may be right. If they did,
they were building casinos.
I would like to see. Yeah, they're waiting for the casino money to roll in. I would like to see other movies with that designation and see if they give it to other movies and what the criterion is for that.
I think a lot of what you're going to find with that designation is going to be found on some of the older movie channels. I don't think you're going to see it on new stuff because I think new stuff is written in such a way to avoid.
Yeah, well, that's what I want to see. Is are the networks doing that for other stuff that it's already been made?
I don't know, dude.
Like this Lonesome Dove thing's like 25, 30 years old.
I watch Archer, and there's a disclaimer of
Archer's
all of
just
the
trash,
bad
dude.
stuff. There's a disclaimer of violence and nudity and swearing.
Right, but
But my point is, it's a cartoon, and none of it's real anyway.
Okay.
So it's just one of
right.
those things where I get what you're saying.
And let's move on to this. You thought that was confusing. Wait till we get into this. I really think there was a couple of incidents this week with the cancel culture. And I really think that I'm opening 2 new jobs. One of them is cancel culture interpreter.
Okay.
And one is cancel culture commissioner. Now, there was a scene where Gina Carano, you know who Gina Carano
Yes,
is?
yeah.
She's a quote, actress and a martial arts person.
Mm-hmm. UFC.
Yeah, UFC. And
Kicks
she
ass.
was quoted.
She did kick ass.
No, she was. And I saw this movie once called Haywire that she's in, and it's got a lot of good stars in it, and I think it's Steven Soderbergh. It's a really good movie, except when she's acting. if she's in the action scenes, they're some of the best action scenes I've ever seen.
Okay, but if she's acting...
Even though you can tell that Michael Fassbender's in it, and she beats him up, and you can tell it's not really him, because it's a blonde guy, and he's about 5'2". But when she's in action, she is fantastic.
Okay.
When she's acting, I want to karate the screen myself. But she came out and said something this week about likening Republicans in the media to the Nazis. And the best I could understand was that she said the media in Germany in the 30s portrayed the Jews as bad people to set them up to be the target for everybody else to come at them, to kind of unify the country against them, which, as far as I know, is true.
Well, it's fact. That part is factually
But then
accurate.
she said it and tried to make it analogous to the Republicans and the media, and that's where it went haywire. Okay,
yes.
No pun intended. Also this week, Chris Harrison, the Bachelor guy who hosts The Bachelor,
yeah, that's right,
came out and was supporting I don't know what they call them, candidates. No, what do they call them? The people. One of the people on the show.
Yeah,
she's one of the
contestants.
Contestants. Thank you. One of the contestants who's trying to get with the Bachelor, and she has. What I was reading 3 years ago, she dressed up in Native American garb and took a picture of herself, and then she also in college went to a party that had a plantation theme. Okay, so she was apologizing for that, and Chris Harrison supported her without really knowing what was going on, and without consulting Rachel Lindsay, who was the African-American bachelorette from before, who is now part of the whole Bachelor community.
The fact that you guys watch
so he has had to step away from the Bachelor because of his comments. Now, the reason I need a interpreter, I need someone to take the situation with Carano and boil it down for me, like what are she really saying that I'm supposed to object to, okay?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying that I shouldn't. I'm just saying it's too convoluted.
It really...
And then somebody take the whole Chris Harrison thing and tell me why him supporting somebody who said, okay, I did something wrong, and he supported her, and what she did was... And she might have done a lot more stuff. I'm sorry. All I know is what was in this one thing.
That's the part of the problem
the pictures that were taken.
Yeah.
So I need a guy or lady or transgender, I don't care, I'm opening up to everybody, to come in and tell me exactly, hey, like they do in the voting pamphlets, here's Proposition 7. Here's why you should vote for it. Here's what it says.
Okay.
Here's why you shouldn't vote for it. Here's what it says. I need someone to come out and go, here's what Gina Carano said. Here's what it means. This is why you should be mad at her. Okay, or this is why she lost her job. This is what Chris Harrison said. This is why you should be mad at him, and this is why he had to step away from The Bachelor. Like, who gives a crap? Okay? So you see what I'm saying?
Your family does, but anyway.
Well, Jennifer, no, she doesn't even watch The Bachelor.
It's just you and the boy, isn't it?
I don't watch The Bachelor. She watches like 90 Day Fiance and Married at First Sight and Bridezilla.
Oh.
She watches a lot of them, but she even draws the line to The Bachelor.
Okay, good.
My point being, we need someone to legislate these and boil them down for us normal people who read. See, because whenever I hear about somebody being canceled, per se, I always like to see what they said. And a lot of times when I read it, maybe they don't include everything. It doesn't seem to be that bad. So, now, saying that, I open myself up. What an idiot. You don't understand. And sometimes that's true. But that's why I need the interpreter. And then after the interpreter comes in, then the commissioner comes in and goes, you're canceled or you're not canceled. Because you can't just cancel everybody. And I've told you, related to this, I've told all the time, like when Louis C.K. had his problem,
yes,
or when public figures like that have a problem, and they're booked to be on the Tonight Show the next week, and they say, no, we're not going to have them on anymore, that always makes me mad, because I always want those people to go on to show. Let's take Louis C.K.'s example.
Yeah.
Louis, you're supposed to be on Jimmy Kimmel tomorrow. Oh, no, there's too much going on. I have to. No. Go on Jimmy Kimmel.
Explain yourself.
Have Jimmy Kimmel ask you the questions. What the hell were you doing, Louis? What's happened? And then everybody gets the information from you.
That's what we wanted them to do with Kramer.
That never happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, well, remember Grant Napier?
Yes,
Grant Napier.
Grant
Napier had the problems with the Black Lives Matter tweet and all that stuff, and he didn't come out. The one thing I wanted to do was come and do your show that day.
Yeah, bet.
And instead of not doing your show, or I don't know if he decided not to, or they told him not to.
That's the thing, is we don't know who said what.
Come out and do your show, and then have people call in and tell you why what you said was wrong or insensitive or whatever.
You have
or
to,
get a conversation going.
You got to
learn.
Just
saying this person is horrible and then they're done, right? I mean, and Gina Carano, in that sense, from what I'm reading, she's had other incidents that would make them want to fire her, not necessarily with Nazis and stuff. And again, that's the number one rule. Don't invoke Nazis. You really don't. There's
I don't know
way
why that's
around it.
I don't know why that's even got to be said anymore. I mean, how do you not? I mean, that should be something that's like inherent. You know this.
And again, from what I read,
and if you don't,
there's a
please
kernel
just listen.
of truth in what she said about the Nazis and the media and stuff.
Well,
of course, obviously it was Goebbels and he was running the media and stuff. It was different. But see, that's why it's tough to make a comparison with the situation today. And so that's when I need the interpreter to go in and go, this is what you said, this is what you meant. Shouldn't have said that. Well, Commissioner, come in. Canceled.
I was very confused by what she said as well, and I'm not going to try to break it down here because it's not worth my time, except to say that what she was trying to equate 6 million people dying to what's happening here in the United States is just a line too far.
Right.
You can slice it up however you want, but those two equations is just a line too far. You don't go there. You know you're not supposed to go there. So just don't do it.
Even if you have a good point buried in there somewhere, once you say Nazis, no one listens anymore. No one listens.
It's an automatic turn.
It's like it's not like the Colin Kaepernick thing, but let me make this point. Once he put his message wrapped up in the flag and the kneeling, the message is gone.
Well, and
we talked about it a million times.
And nobody wanted to listen after that.
You had a great point. I mean? Everybody looking back, your issue was fantastic.
It's still being taken up today.
We need to deal with it. We need it then. We need it now. But once we got it wrapped up in that other thing, then it got lost.
No, absolutely. Right. So, but a spokesperson or a translator,
interpreter, a cancel culture interpreter.
The first person that came to mind.
Oh, I like this. You have a candidate?
Well, yeah, the first person that came to mind. You might know him. He's in a lot of stuff. African-American gentleman. He's older now. He's got a lot of freckles all over his face. Is that starting
Mr. Morgan Freeman.
Thank you very much. Okay? Mr. Morgan Freeman, for whatever reason, anytime you've ever seen him anywhere, he can start to explain something.
Yes.
And you will understand it.
Yes.
He has a way with his words.
Here's my only...
Morgan Freeman is my this is just my first.
I think, first of all, you've got a great idea. I think it's a committee and not one person.
Okay.
Maybe. But the only thing that I don't like about the Morgan Freeman choice is that he's 80 years old.
He's too old.
And we have to get we have to represent everybody.
Okay.
Because what an 80-year-old or a 70-year-old doesn't realize is offensive that an 18-year-old does. You see what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
Oh, but I like the way you're thinking though, because you're coming up with people, and that's perfect. My last thing before we talk about as Mr. Basketball, and this is this.
Oh wait, but I did have a commissioner.
Oh, you do?
No, I had a commissioner.
My bad.
I apologize. It's just the only person I could think that can actually enforce something like that. currently is Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
Dwayne The Rock Johnson's perfect.
So I mean, I
All
just
right,
you know,
I can't beat that.
I just saw those two as a really good pair. You know, vice pres type of thing. You know.
Well, get Morgan and get him like a Zendaya.
Yeah,
to
he's
help
gonna
him
have
out,
some liaisons.
and like a middle-aged white guy.
Yeah, dude, absolutely, I'm with you.
Or Asian or whatever. I mean, get everybody involved. But we gotta come up with something, because it's just. We've got to come up with a better way to do this.
I agree.
Everybody's being canceled now.
Yeah.
And
you and I have been canceled.
We've been canceled many times. My last thing before we get to basketball, and this is, again, me in the rabbit hole.
Did you want to take a break before we get to...
After this, we'll take a break.
All right, just ask him.
Her name is Jana Kramer.
Jana Kramer.
Jana, I believe. She is a country singer and an actress. Okay? And she's also
Not ringing a bell.
Well, I follow like all these... like Entertainment Tonight or Entertainment Weekly and stuff. I follow all those things, so they tweet stuff about her. So she's put out 2 albums and been in 1 TV show. So she's an actress. And
she's on the up and coming.
She's been married 3 times. She's 37, married 3 times. 2 of them lasted combined less than 2 years.
Ooh.
The first 2. Now she's been married for 5 years. She's always in the news now because her and her husband are always fighting, right? And that's like her claim to fame now, is how her husband treats her bad. And she's cute, so she's very photogenic. And they say, oh, Janet Kramer has a problem with her. Her husband is straying again. And you're like, oh, yeah, big deal. So this is the one. This is the last straw, so to speak.
Okay.
So yesterday, today's the 16th, right?
15th, isn't it? Yeah, 15th.
Okay, 15th. So even better. This morning.
Okay.
I see something on Twitter about 8:30. Jana Kramer admits her and her husband Mike had a fight on Valentine's Day. And I'm like, first of all, I don't care.
No.
Secondly, how do you know that? Did she call you and tell you that? It's only 8:00 on the next day, and you already know that she had a fight with her husband on Valentine's Day? Did you call her house and ask her?
You ever wondered how these
Did
people
she call
get this?
you?
You
Yes.
ever wonder how they do? Is there somebody sitting outside of her window?
No,
with one of those cup
Yes.
things to the wall listening.
Yeah. I don't. I think it's her publicist is calling people to tell them. Who cares if you had a fight on Valentine's? You've had a fight for 5 years. No one cares.
Not if that's bringing you fame.
And that's exactly, you're tying into my point. There needs to be, and maybe we get another commissioner.
A fame police?
There needs to be a minimum level of celebrity for you to get reported on.
Okay. So
you have to be at least as famous as X, or else nobody talks about it.
Can we use the ABC system that we currently have? You're an A list, you're a B list, and then we can add the C list?
Well, if you don't get up to at least the B list, then no one can talk. Okay. If you've been on Survivor 1 year, I don't care if you're engaged.
1 year of TV doesn't get you.
Yeah, I don't care about that. If
you have to have multiple year appearances in order to get.
Well, he's returning to Survivor. Okay, I don't care. That doesn't doesn't matter.
But if he's returning to Survivor, that would be his second time around,
and I still don't care.
But isn't he a B-list celebrity at that point?
And a minimum level of celebrity has to be established in which these people can be reported on. Janet Kramer, with 2 albums and 1 TV show and 3 marriages, does not qualify anymore. I don't care about her.
That is actually Chris Toy. Chris Toy.
I don't care. Well, I can't say I don't care about Chris.
He's got 2 albums out there. Okay. Or 3, actually, I believe. 3 albums out there.
Okay.
He's been on Fox 40 several times.
And Cops doesn't count.
Okay. Does he not have C-list celebrity status at this point?
He is not the minimum level of celebrity to have somebody report on.
But that's what this chick sounds like.
If I run across Twitter, if it's on Twitter, they post about you. You have to be this famous to get on Twitter. Now, I'm going to just cut out all these people on the bottom. If you're on The Real Housewives and you had a baby, I don't care. But if you're not famous.
But if you're on The Real Housewives season 6 and you've been on there for 6 years?
Then I will say, okay, you have reached a certain level of celebrity or notoriety, whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
I say, okay, you put the time in. At least there are people out there who probably care.
5-year minimum.
If you've put out 2 albums and you're 37 on your 3rd marriage and been in 1 TV show,
you're Chris,
and all you're on,
and you're not special,
and all you are is he's not photogenic, and all you are is getting beat.
He is,
and all you are is getting in fights. I almost say getting beat up. That's wrong. Can't say that. then that's, I mean, first of all, that's depressing. And secondly, I don't know how you know. I don't know how the fact that you had a fight on Valentine's Day is already on Twitter at 8 o'clock on the next morning. There's just no way that can happen.
Unless you tweeted it out yourself.
Or you went out and got in the fight at the Entertainment Weekly offices or something. I just said, oh my God, if it's, obviously you're right. It's that much trying to get yourself in the public eye. But man, once you have a publicist,
you're right. Okay, that's a level of celebrity, right?
Well, it's a level of they're supposed to make you appear to be a celebrity.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
But it's a level. I don't know which level it is, but it's a level. So once you have a publicist, I think all bets are off. That's why this kind of shit happens. I agree with you though. It's like you got to have like a 5-year minimum. It's got to be like a retirement type of thing. Like you have to put in this amount of time before you can start drawing any benefits from your celebrityism.
Okay, let me give you an example. Now, if you
didn't win Survivor or came in second,
if you won,
none of you count.
Yeah, if you won, okay, I will read on Twitter about you if you get engaged.
Okay.
Okay, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but I don't care about your brother.
No.
Okay. Well, okay, that song. There's always viral songs now, right? So if you're Rebecca Black, that was her name that did Friday.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Well,
yeah.
I think that's 10 years ago now. So if you do that and you blow up around the world, you can be on there.
Yeah.
But as soon as you take, you got to leave again. Okay?
You got to go.
Unless you get the follow-up. If you're a one-hit wonder, come on, Eileen. Bam, you're gone.
Bye-bye.
That's all I'm saying. All right. So culture, culture, cancel culture interpreter and commissioner.
Uh-huh.
Insensitive cultural depiction president, and a minimum level of celebrity. Those are the things that we've discussed today.
I like it.
We're going to come back. We're going to talk to Mr. Basketball, answer all your basketball questions, and hopefully get into another thing I don't understand, card collecting. Coming up next on the POS Show.
Card collecting.
Now back to the POS Show, Stones Radio Networks.
Yes, it is back to the POS Show. I'm Phantom. That is Stones McCoy. The first part of the show featured Inside Out Pizza, insensitive cultural depiction, cancel culture commissioner, and minimum level of celebrity. I don't know that we can match that in the second half of the show.
So we just say goodbye?
If we were smart, we would, yeah. But we still have asked Mr. Basketball. Before we do that, I wanted to talk a little football with you on
let's do that.
Generation Gap. On the Generation Gap with Mr. Zach Lowe and myself, we have a thing which we've instituted, which is a website. Oh, excellent.
Come on, dude. It's football talk.
Nice.
This is not Peter and the Wolf.
Peter and the Wolf is fantastic. I thought it was Jaws there for a second. Now we're going to talk about Ron Jaworski the whole time. But we can, by the way.
We're going to talk about quarterbacks, though.
Yeah, Zach and I do a thing. We call it Indeed.com for quarterbacks, where it's a website, and quarterbacks call us and teams call us.
Yeah.
We try to match them up.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
How's that working out?
So far, pretty good. We got a lot of calls from Chicago.
Oh, I bet.
Trying to find a quarterback. We got calls from Indianapolis. And we got calls, I think it was from Sam Darnold down in the 213. We're going back to his college days, and he's kind of calling us, trying to set things up.
Poor Sam.
We also got calls from Denver, which was surprising. So we sent them a guy called in from North Dakota, and we sent him over to Denver because we couldn't really.
Did you you guys made that work?
We sent the contact info over.
Oh, okay.
We see the problem is, as we talked about this, the reputation of our service is if we recommend a certain gentleman who lives in North Dakota who worked in Philadelphia, if we recommend him too strongly and he turns out to be a bust, that makes us look bad.
It makes you guys look bad, okay.
So we've got to make sure that we send everybody the best place. Now, I noticed that you are a little concerned about a gentleman named Deshaun Watson. We did get a call from Georgia, which is where he grew up.
Oh.
So we do believe it's from him.
Oh.
However, and this is very important to I think what your questions are going to be, we got no calls from Houston. We don't think.
Wait, what?
We got no calls from Houston. We think they're going to dig their heels in, and they're not going to move Watson.
Oh.
That's what they've said all this time, and they're staying firm. Well, for now, staying firm on that they don't want to move him.
Okay.
Obviously, from the player evaluation standpoint, that's a good idea because he's probably like the fourth or fifth best quarterback in football. You don't get rid of the fifth best quarterback in football.
No.
But their whole whole situation is so horribly mismanaged. It's almost like the people that initially took care of the COVID situation.
Yeah.
Just horribly mismanaged. And so I think the interesting thing about that whole scenario would be, and I think Zach talked about this last time, what does Houston have to do to kind of make Deshaun, in fact, change his mind?
Yeah, well, that's the initial question that I wanted to ask was, although Houston may be digging in their heels, he has dug in his heels.
Yes.
He has flat out said, I won't play for Houston next year. And if he's making it that clear, and I know a lot of people have equated the same, the talk the same as a lot of what happens in the NBA when somebody's unhappy. And a lot of people were equating this to the James Harden thing. And when you just come out and say, I'm not going to be here, well, isn't the best thing for the organization to move him?
Yes.
Because if he flat out doesn't want to be there, there's really nothing you're going to be able to do to make him want to be there.
Right.
So for your organizational purposes, it sounds like the best thing to do is to move on.
Right.
Now, I don't think they're digging in their heels and they don't want to get rid of him. I think they realize they're going to have to, but they're digging in their heels to increase the offers that continue to come in.
Well, you just said it. You said in that situation they should deal him if he's not going to play, but by him saying he wouldn't play, that has devalued him in the open market because everybody knows he wants to get out. And will Houston cave? And instead of getting 4 number ones, will they settle for 2 number ones and a number 2 and a backup linebacker? You know, that kind of situation.
Yes.
Now, I don't see. He's under contract for a long time.
He's under contract.
He won't get paid if he doesn't show up.
4 more years.
Yeah, and he doesn't get paid if he doesn't show up.
Exactly.
They could fine him, but those things are very messy. Just forget fines.
Okay.
Take, for example, he didn't get his $40 million or whatever it is this year. He doesn't get it.
42 and 44
yeah, whatever it is.
Like that,
yeah, whatever it is. So I agree with you because I think Houston has botched it so badly, and now with Watt leaving and trading Hopkins last year,
I was just going to ask.
I think it might be time for them to say, you know, something as crappy as and maybe they don't have this self-awareness. We need to just start over again. Let's go ahead and get a super good offer for him because, I mean, the 49ers will give you Garoppolo, I would imagine, and more.
And more.
Let's go ahead and take one of these deals in which we get 3 number ones and a starting quarterback. I'm not saying Garoppolo is Deshaun Watson, but he's a starting quarterback.
Okay.
In the same way that Detroit got Goff back,
yes.
Right? Let's do that and try to get more. I mean, they got a lot for Goff, and you can never – it's never apples to apples in any of these things.
It's not going to be.
But I do think that if Houston wants to move off Watson, they need to, unless they're trading him with the Jets that gets the number 2 pick.
Correct.
And maybe then they get Fields or whoever it would be they want, Zach Wilson, whoever it is. If you don't do that and you want to go to another team, then give me Jimmy Garoppolo or give me whoever it happens to be, because that way I have a starting quarterback,
and
I can take my other 3 first-rounders or whatever I'm getting from you, which that's like a minimum, and I can go ahead and build my team, because I have to build a new team.
You have to.
I think their house is burned down, man.
Well, let me ask you this. Is it telling to you, with what happened and the way it happened with J.J. Watt and the Houston Texans, is that telling to you that they are in the process of rebuilding because of the way they didn't trade him?
Right.
They had opportunities to trade. They had opportunities to get something for the guy.
Right.
And they are just literally hands up in the air. Sorry, dude. Bye.
Okay. It's a great I can see it 2 different ways. Number one, I'm with you. I think they should have traded him.
Yeah.
But maybe they wanted him to pick where he was going to go next. Maybe they feel he's done, 10 years or whatever.
Yeah.
He's done enough for our organization. We want to let him do, we want to let him pick where he's going next, so let's make him a free agent.
Yeah.
And we won't pay him anymore. I think his deal was done.
His
anyway.
deal was done, yeah.
So we're not going to re-sign him. You don't sign a 10-year veteran who's had a lot of injuries. You don't really re-sign him anyway.
Unless you have loyalty to your players like that,
again,
like most teams do, especially on the defensive side.
But what would you get for him on the open market if you're trading him? A third rounder?
Who knows? You would have gotten something. You got 0 for letting him walk. You got 0 for letting him walk.
Maybe your mindset is that I got goodwill.
No, I think the mindset is that they've realized that they've got nothing going on.
That's true.
And I think this is a very important sign for people to look at the Houston Texans and what they're going to do with Deshaun. I think this is a huge indicator because I think it's showing that we are now in rebuild mode.
Right.
We are 100% in rebuild mode.
Yeah.
And, we signed Deshaun to a long-term deal, but we know that there's at least half a dozen teams out there that are willing to flip that bill.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay?
Absolutely.
So we're no worse for the wear if we can flip him, and get something. So with all that said, I have to run this by you because I just respect your opinion so highly.
I know. Yeah.
Okay? I think what needs to happen is the Houston Texans, the San Francisco 49ers, and the New England Patriots need to get involved in a 3-team deal.
We're doing a 3-way?
I like a 3-way here.
Oh, man.
I think this makes a lot of sense, and in fact, it makes money sense.
All right.
Houston wants picks.
Okay.
Okay? Who has more picks right now on the board than any other team going into this draft?
Do the Patriots?
The Patriots.
Okay.
The Patriots have 7, I believe. Okay?
In the first 3 rounds?
In
or
the
just
first
7 or what?
First 3 rounds.
Okay.
And I think it's 2 in the first and 5 in the second.
Okay.
It's ridiculous. So they've got a bunch of picks. Now the Niners will have a pick, okay?
Sure.
But that's really not worth much. New England doesn't have a quarterback.
No, they do not.
And you know who they've wanted from the get. And Belichick never wanted to trade Jimmy G.
Right.
Okay? This would be the opportunity to move Jimmy G back to New England.
He goes to New England.
You move
all the
4,
picks.
5, 6 picks, however many picks it takes, down into Houston.
Right.
Okay? And we flip the bill for Deshaun.
Okay.
Okay? Now, obviously, you're going to probably add a couple of pieces in there
I think you have
to make it work. And I don't, honestly, as a 49er fan, I wouldn't say that anybody's off the table.
So
I really wouldn't.
But that's what I was thinking. I had your Houston and your San Francisco, but if I'm Houston, maybe you want all new guys, okay. But if I'm Houston and I'm trading with San Francisco, okay, then I'm Houston. Give me Jimmy Garoppolo. Give me one of your defensive linemen.
But wait a second. So I just got a bunch of picks, and there's a quarterback that's out there on the market that I can go and sign for $1 million to start for my team next year because he's not being picked up by anybody else.
Okay.
And that's Cam Newton.
Okay, but he just was not the quarterback in New England.
You're rebuilding. This is a rebuild in Houston.
You don't rebuild with a guy who's
you're not rebuilding.
Done.
No. You're not. It's a temporary. It's you have to have a stopgap unless you have a backup quarterback right now in Houston. Okay. When you get rid of Deshaun, you're not bringing in the next guy right then because you just got all your picks. You're trying to build with that. If you can get a quarterback out of those picks, great. But I don't see there being a quarterback in the upcoming draft that far down.
Right, I understand
that's worth building on anything right away.
I understand that. Okay.
But what I'm saying is that you have, as a rebuilding franchise, you have that opportunity, okay, to literally get 6 or 7 picks, a couple of younger guys, probably defensive, on the defensive side, to help fill those gaps, and you've just saved $125 million.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
You've cut yourself free from that.
But you don't. Okay.
I just see that what they're doing and the way they're letting a cornerstone piece of their franchise walk. Okay, not even offering them a veterans minimum.
Sure,
you know what I mean. There's something else going on in Houston, and I really think that it's kind of showing. They're kind of showing their hand now.
All right,
we're done with what we've got here. Wiping the slate clean. Let's bring it all in new. Let's start over.
I do subscribe to that's their theory. I do think you're right. I don't know that you can start over without a cornerstone at quarterback.
Not this year.
And then you're assuming that the next year you're going to be able to get a pick that gets you a better quarterback.
Well,
and that's tough. I mean, maybe you will.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you go into next season with the team that you currently have with random picks,
I see your point,
and Cam Newton as your quarterback, I mean, you're
probably going to do pretty well.
I think you're going to get the first, second pick the following year.
All right. Okay.
Okay. I'm just saying, man.
My idea was Garoppolo, one of the defensive linemen, and 2 firsts, but that's okay.
If they can make that work, I think the most important thing is that the 49ers do go ahead and make this move.
I think so too.
I think it's best for every party that's involved.
He seems more logically. That seems to be a logical landing place for him.
Because I wouldn't rebuild with Jimmy G.
No, I wouldn't either.
And so, but that's what we're talking about here, is sending them to a team that's going to rebuild.
Right.
So I don't see rebuild. That's why I say I think you get a third team involved. I think it's going to be New England.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. The other one is Dak Prescott.
I wouldn't mind seeing him in San Francisco either.
Dak Prescott. I talked about this on the generation gap. I think I talked about it with. No, I don't know if we talked about it. That I really thought Matt Stafford was going to end up in Dallas because you had a good quarterback who could throw the ball, and he's way cheaper than what Dak Prescott was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't happen. I think the Rams. I think, realized their situation the same way that you're saying that the Texans did. They said, look, we got these guys. I'm going to be here forever.
We're out, man.
We need a guy who can put the ball downfield, and this is the guy.
Yeah.
Whether it works or not,
we have to take the shot.
Whether that trade works or not depends totally on whether Stafford gets them to the conference final.
Yeah.
That's basically
But we're willing to roll the dice
That's
here.
what we're going to do because Aaron Donald can't be Superman all the time.
No, and you're wasting his best
Ramsey,
years.
And we have other guys. So, yeah, definitely. But I really thought that he would be that guy. I thought the Dallas would do the same thing. Basically, the Rams did.
Yeah.
They didn't. Dak Prescott, to me, I don't understand why he's not the guy yet. And the fact is he wants so much money, at least what we're hearing, he wants an outlandish amount of money. Like $37 million a year or something like that.
But Deshaun's getting 42.
But Deshaun, well, okay, that's true.
No, I mean you can't. I'm flat out saying it, and my stance on a cowboy. But no, I mean Deshaun's getting 42 and 44. He's worth 37.
Maybe
the market dictates he's worth at least that much.
The market dictates to me that Dak Prescott isn't worth more than $35 million.
How much is
Wentz
making? How much is Wentz making?
I have no idea, and I'm not using that for a criterion at all.
He makes twice as much as Wentz. He should make twice as much as Wentz.
Well, I mean,
okay.
Now you're talking about a guy who's been injured for the.
So he's been injured for a year.
He's either been injured or crappy for 2.5 years.
Okay.
I don't think Dak. Well, again, as you say, it's the market that dictates.
Yeah.
To me, Dak Prescott shouldn't get over $35 million. if they franchise him again, which I think they can do, then that's just totally saying
he's got to get 110 for 3 years.
Okay, if you can franchise, he's got to 110 for 3 years.
He's got to get 110 for 3 years.
I can live with that.
He's got to get that's got to be the minimum, okay? And if they try to pull the franchise tag on him this year, okay,
then he's done.
He needs to take it and jump.
Right, I agree because if it's your quarterback, you've got to show that he's your leader.
Don't be a Dan Snyder.
You show he's your leader by giving him his security.
Don't be a Dan Snyder.
You're my guy.
Yes.
This is your contract.
100%.
The fact that hasn't been done by maybe the shrewdest businessman in the NFL really makes me wonder what's going on here. But the problem is Jerry Jones, I'll give him credit for this. If he's going to get rid of Dak, he has an idea who he wants to bring in. I don't know who's out there.
Well, it's Dalton or bust for the Cowboys.
Well, Dalton is a fine backup. I got no problem with that. I'm just saying that if he's going to dump Dak for good, he's got to have an idea of somebody else to bring in.
Yeah, he's thinking Dalton.
Maybe. Well, no.
That's the thing about the Cowboys.
No,
they are dead set on letting this happen. They are dead set on letting the Dak thing happen to go ahead and install the Dalton man as the QB number 1.
Install him as that, but take Dak, trade his ass, get yourself some high picks, and pick yourself a new quarterback.
I agree with that.
There we go.
Okay.
All right.
Trade him to the Niners.
So trade him and get Zach. Zach Wilson from BYU is your new quarterback.
I like Zach Wilson. I like Zach Wilson.
Can we get to Ask Mr. Basketball?
We
don't have a lot of time left, thanks to you.
Well, let's see if this even works.
Go.
Okay. It's been
all right.
so
That's
old.
a great point.
It's working, I think.
That's working?
Mr. Basketball. Mr. Basketball.
I like that.
It's old.
That is old.
It's long.
Yeah, it's kind of long.
It's long.
Are we going to have time for Mr. Basketball?
Maybe.
Mr. Basketball.
Mr. Basketball.
Should I just,
Yeah, you should.
All right, listen. That's not the one I wanted. Here, here, let's try this one.
Mr. Basketball.
That sounds like...
This is the intro for Mr. Basketball.
But when all the voices are talking, it sounds like the beginning of Ball of Confusion for the Temptations, which is a great song.
You know, it was just me saying, hey, and then I push repeat.
Whatever.
Are you ready for this?
No, I don't think so.
All right, well, it is time to ask Mr. Basketball. Welcome back into the saddle, Mr. Basketball.
I forgot all my basketball knowledge during that intro.
Yeah, well,
it was longer than...
Doesn't shock me at all.
Longer than my 30s. Thank you.
It does not shock me at all. Okay, first question coming into Mr. Basketball is actually coming from a fan.
Okay.
JRRJ.
JRRJ.
Yes.
A good man.
He tweets in, why, Mr. Basketball?
Yes.
Why do the Kings play with my emotions so damn much?
Well, they play with your emotions, JRRJ, because first of all, you're a fan, and that's what teams do.
That's what they do.
And the Kings play with them even more because of something we'll probably talk about again, which is their roller coaster nature.
Yeah?
When you have a team that is somewhat predictable, you can adjust your emotions accordingly. I know JR, he's a very emotional fellow.
Yeah.
But when they can take you to the high or to the low during the same game, every game, it just wrecks you.
What about within the same 10 minutes?
Within the same quarter. That's a great point.
Yes.
So your emotions are going to be wrecked as long as you align them with a team like the Kings, because they are not a team. They're not a team that you. They're a team that you date. You don't marry them.
You don't marry these guys?
These guys are not consistent.
You don't get down on your knee for them.
You do not, because they will not be there for you when you need them.
Okay. Can you offer Mr. JRRJ any kind of advice as far as helping him with his emotional roller coaster?
I can. And that is to always do what my wife does, which is expect the worst.
There you go.
Set the bar so low
0-82.
that you are almost invulnerable and impervious to any kind of emotional content that would damage you.
That's what we do when we set up our show here.
Never expect anything from them. Once, if they get a 10-point lead, go, okay, we're going to lose by 1 in a minute. Just always tell yourself that. Always tamper down your expectations. Then you will never be. You'll never be crushed, really.
You'll never
be disappointed, but I know Jaron, he will be.
He will totally.
He disappoints himself constantly.
Well, I hope that answers your question,
Thank you for the question, by the way.
Absolutely. Another wonderful friend of the show and a member of this team, Max Greenfield.
Oh,
he chimes in, and I do know that he's a big Kings fan as well. And so this is another Kings question. Should the Kings trade Harrison Barnes? And why is the game plan, or what is the game plan with Marvin Bagley?
Okay.
Thanks, I'll hang up and listen.
Thank you, Max. Those are two separate questions. We'll address them separately.
First time, long time.
Max, I saw Max today putting out some, speaking about emotional, putting some emotional tweet out about he and his girlfriend.
Oh, yeah.
And,
Did they have the kitty?
What?
Did they have the
No,
kitty in the picture?
Just them, I think. I didn't see a kitty.
They have an awesome kitty.
Well, I would definitely put that in the picture. But so he's obviously an emotional side,
Yeah,
too.
Yes.
Harrison Barnes, Max, you have delved into the thing that we have talked about, the core of the thing we talked about on the generation gap for the past 2 or 3 shows, which is Harrison Barnes has been playing really, really good.
Yeah.
Really, really well, and well enough, and the team was doing well enough that it was like, okay, we're not going to go ahead. We might trade him, but we're kind of like on the back burner now.
Okay.
Because he's playing very well, and the team was at this time right around 500, 12-12, 12-11, right in there.
Sitting right around the 8th spot, right?
He was playing very well. Now, since the trade rumors have intensified, he has had 2 or 3 games that he has not played very well. Now, last night I think he had 8 points, but he only took 6 shots. In the game before, they only took 9 shots. So his production with point-wise is kind of tied into how many chances he's getting. I don't think he's getting the opportunities, but he's not playing as well offensively as he was before. Maybe the trade talks are affecting him. I don't know. Defensively, he's still playing pretty well, but the team has lost 2 straight. So I still think the Kings are sticking to we're not going to trade Harrison Barnes, but at some point, and this ties into your Bagley question, Max, at some point the Kings have to say, our plan is to develop the core, Halliburton, Bagley, and Fox. And to improve the talent or upgrade the talent in every other around them in any way possible.
Yeah.
So we have to get better. The Kings, even though they're 12-14 now, but even when they've beaten some good teams, but they're not themselves a good team. They play well sometimes, but they're not a good team.
But overall
they have
team.
to upgrade their talent, and the way you do that, obviously, is by free agency or trades or draft. Now, the draft right now, they'd probably get like a 10 or 12, just like they did with Halliburton. Yeah. So that's not the course. Free agency, the thought is that no one ever wants to come to Sacramento, which is kind of true.
It's kind of true, but it's also
might be changing a little bit. But the problem with that is the people that change that perception are the people like Harrison Barnes, Rashawn Holmes, respected veterans who say, no, Sacramento's not that bad a place. It's really good. And Harrison Barnes, from all effects, is a fantastic person besides being a basketball player.
He's wonderful in the
he's
community,
incredible.
man.
So, but he's the kind of guy that, you don't sign as a free agent just to come and play with a couple of young guys. You come and play with people that, have set a culture, and that's what Harrison Barnes is doing right now and what he has done. So I don't think they're going to trade him. I think they're going to stick with it right now. But if they fall a couple of more games behind and they get an offer where they can upgrade that talent, because, Stones, that's the bottom line. You can't let the emotions get in there. If Harrison Barnes is our best bargaining chip, then we have to, and we can get a deal that we think is an upgrade talent-wise or picks-wise or salary-wise, and that's where basketball is so confusing.
It really is.
It's not player for player. It's
you have to play
player for expiring contract and trade exception and stuff like that.
Play a lot of games when it comes to that
The
stuff.
problem with fans dealing with that is that if they traded Hassan Whiteside today for a expiring contract in a second rounder, people go, well, he's doing pretty good, but I understand why they did that.
Yeah.
But you can't do that with Harrison Barnes.
No, you wouldn't
You have to get a tangible asset, at least for the fans. Now, Monty McNair is the new GM. He's pretty good at what he does, and he does things his own way. So if he does something like that, I think initially now in this honeymoon period, you're going to say, okay, he's probably have an idea. As I said, # follow the plan.
Yes,
he
follow
probably
the plan.
has an idea, but it would be a tough pill for Kings fans to swallow right now with Harrison Barnes. So to answer your question, Max, I don't think they trade him, but that could change in the next week depending on how the team and Harrison plays. As for your second question, Bagley, the plan for Bagley is to try to make Bagley the best Bagley he can be.
And he's got potential.
He was getting there really well the last, I'm going to say, 8 games, and then he just got injured again. and that is scary because
he's got to gain some weight.
Nobody
and the problem
wants a
is,
spindly star, and we have a spindly star in De'Aaron Fox.
If he doesn't gain weight, though, these injuries are going to just continue.
Well,
and the thing is, if you add weight to that body frame, it may just worsen the injury rate. So I don't know what to think, but he has got such amazing talent.
He's got talent, and he was showing it ever since. Like, he had a very slow part there. He was injured again. He had a slow part, and then all of a sudden he kind of turned it around. And I'm giving myself full credit for that because about 3 or 4 weeks ago, I was reading some guy talking about Bagley, how terrible Bagley is, and I tweeted out something to the effect of, he knows nobody wants him here.
Yeah.
Every time he does something, he knows nobody wants him here. So maybe he's feeling a little bit insecure.
That sucks that nobody wants him here, because I do.
He's like 20 years old, and whenever he makes a mistake, the whole community comes down on him. And
that's bullshit.
Why don't we just kind of back off and let the guy breathe a little bit and let him kind of support him the way we've supported everybody else, even crappy people.
I know.
And then my friend, Christina Werner from Fox 40, responded to that and said, "Hey, Phantom." She said, "Hey, Phantom." She said, "I thought I was the only one who felt that way." And so she's on board. And then she comes out the next day, puts out a long tweet with the whole context, and she gets all the credit. And
it's Christina.
But that's Christina.
She's a hot weather woman. We love her at Fox 40.
Absolutely. So in that one, I think Bagley right now it's a stay the course situation.
Yeah.
Is he tradable? He's tradable for the right price. Everybody is.
Everybody is, yeah.
But right now, I think the plan is he's one of the 3 guys in the core. And the scary part, as you point out, Stones, is we can't have a guy who's one of our key components being injured.
No.
And sometimes,
not like this.
Obviously, there are fluke injuries.
Yeah.
But there are other kind of injuries, and it seems like he's getting them a lot. And that's something that's kind of a red flag.
I don't want to go too further with anything, but one name I didn't hear you mention in the core, was the Bahama Mama.
That's a great point.
And I'm curious as to find out what your take is then on,
Buddy Hield
and what his future
in the young core. I think his future is to be traded.
Okay. Trade deadline traded?
I think traded in the next couple of weeks traded.
Okay.
I think that the problem with that is that Buddy's a shooter, and the shooters, it's like the stock market it rises and falls the more shots he makes. He had a terrible game yesterday, I think it was. So, his stock is down. Mm-hmm. He is definitely being showcased by the Kings. It's weird that he and Harrison Barnes were the 2 names most discussed, and they've both been pretty down lately.
I know.
I don't think that can be a coincidence totally.
No, it's got to be them doing it purposely.
No,
they don't want to leave.
Well, I don't think that's
that always creeps into my mind, especially with a guy like Harrison, who is now he's really become a piece of the Sacramento fabric, inside and outside of the basketball gym. And it does, those things creep into my mind of, if a guy really wants to stay and he knows that, there's whispers, well, does he just tell coach, hey, I only want to play like 10 minutes tonight?
I think you're circling the truth. I think what a problem could be is it's tough for a guy who feels like he's not in the team's plans to figure out where he fits in on the court. As I mentioned, Barnes with only 6 shots last night.
Yeah, that's not.
And 9 the day before, and you don't know whether to go out and grab your opportunities because you don't know what your status is within the team.
Yeah.
And I think maybe that's something that gets in your mind. I don't think I just think that maybe he's kind of like, even though he's a veteran and he's been through the wars, he's been in the titles, even though that's true, he's kind of one of the key guys on the team, and yet he's not really sure that he's on the team for the long haul. So maybe he kind of is wondering where he fits in, and maybe that has something to do with it.
Well, we're running long, but I'm going to get all of the fans' questions answered, and then I'm going to...
In other words, you didn't do any research?
And then I'm just going to hold on to my questions I never came up with, and we'll ask them the next time around. So let's answer another fan question. Coming in from the number 1 pain in the ass fan. We call him the It on this show, just so you know. The It. I-T, the It.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
But he goes as by Steven Hernandez.
All right.
Yes, my question is for Mr. Basketball.
That's me.
Is how long did games take when you had to climb the pole and take the ball out of the basket, out of those peach baskets?
Sure.
How long did those games take?
That was my first gig.
So were they 48 minutes?
No.
60 minutes?
No. They were 4-minute quarters.
4-minute quarters?
Yeah, and 4-minute quarters. And the clock stopped when you got the ladder out. But as soon as the ball was returned to the floor, the clock started again, even though you had to get the ladder out of the way.
Was it a windy clock? Did you? Because obviously
it was actually a clock. It was a clock. It was a grandfather clock.
It was a grandfather
clock.
clock.
It was a grandfather clock right next to the scorekeeper. Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
How big was that court? Just out of curiosity.
The court was not big. If you've been to Harwood Palace and they play side courts across, it was about that size. Okay. Probably 3/4 of it.
10 foot. 10-foot peach basket?
10-foot peach baskets, unless you couldn't find a standard.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you had the pole and only went 8.5 feet,
you just went 8.
You didn't really have the extendo things that I know you would be able to apply. You would have helped.
I would have fixed something. Yeah.
No, so there were games. There were games where you had some guys going down and ripping the peach baskets off the wall because it was only 9 feet and they just got up.
And last question from the Peach Ball Express games that you used to play.
Sure.
What would generally be a final score in a peach ball basket game?
I would say we'd make maybe 3 baskets a quarter.
Okay.
So 12 baskets a game, maybe 7. So 14-8.
14-8?
Something like that.
After a 16-minute game?
After a 16-minute game, yeah. That's about right.
That sounds good. Do you remember what your scoring average was back in those days?
Same as my blood alcohol level. 2.5.
I love
my
it.
GPA and my blood alcohol were both 2.5.
Oh, I love it. Well, that's going to end the Ask Mr. Basketball
I was just
segment.
getting warmed up.
That's going to end it, but we will do this again next Monday.
Fantastic.
We'll do it right here, 6 p.m. Don't forget about tomorrow's show.
Tomorrow at 6 p.m. also, the Generation Gap, Zach Lowe, and myself.
And then we follow that with the Unscripted boys over there.
On Wednesday.
On the Wednesday. So check it out. And if you missed the show or anything, go to iTunes. You can download and get all the stuff there. Visit Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube. We are everywhere. So thank you very much. And, if you guys ever want to, feel free to retweet the stuff and help us build that brand.
And don't forget, Potters Radio is available.
Yes, Potters Radio is available.
Baseball games.
We're ready to go.
Send us that stonesradio@yahoo.com.
That's it right there. So for myself and the Phantom, thank you very much. We'll be back next Monday.
See ya.
Stones Radio Networks.